Hello everybody! Anime here today, where to review Dr. Stone New World Part 2, or rather, the second half of Dr. Stone Season 3. So without further ado, let's just hop right into this. So, what is the story of the second half of Season 3? Basically, now that they have the necessary components to make more revival fluid, Senku and team plan to bring some of their friends back in order to help them defeat this evil villain Ibarra, as they also try to figure out how to save this whole island, as well as get their hands on the Medusa or the petrification weapon. And yeah, that's basically how this whole story goes. It's literally just them trying to get the special Medusa-like turning things to stone weapon while also trying to defeat Ibarra. And yeah, that's not an amazing story summary. It's very short, I know, but we're just gonna roll with it. So, in terms of spoiler-free thoughts, overall, I really freaking enjoyed this. I had such a good time with this season because for me personally, when I was watching, I was going into it thinking, it'll be alright, it'll probably be a fun little time. But then I was surprised to find, wait, this is actually really freaking good. What the heck? There's so many awesome twists and turns. There's even a moment early on that actually got a shocked face out of me. Like, I was like, like that kind of shock. Like, I was not expecting that. There's so many moments of this with these awesome twists and turns and different ways they use science and stuff like that. It's such an awesome way with how they convey the different things they have to do, the things they accomplish using science to try to save this island. And the fact that so much of it is all credited to just these 11 episodes, it is just so awesome because the whole season is just, well, at least a good chunk of it is phenomenal. The ending of it, which is just kind of fine, I'll go over that probably in the spoiler section, but most of it, I loved so much of it. The way they defeat this threat, the way they take it on, the way they go through all these different struggles, just all of it was so good. And it just made me realize, wow, this is some of the best Dr. Stone I ever watched. Like, what the heck? And it just gets me excited for the future installments, since I'm pretty sure the next season is set to be the final season, which I don't know how that'll go, but hopefully it's really good. And yeah, there's just so many elements to this that I can't really go into without spoiling. But overall, I just enjoyed so much of this season. There are some ups and downs in there, yes, but overall, it was so freaking good, and I just loved it. The only real complaint that I could say without really spoiling anything is that the opening theme was kind of weak for this half of the season. The last one was pretty solid, but this one, it's literally just music playing over a bunch of characters just standing around for a good chunk of it. And that just felt off to me. I'm not expecting like big, amazing visuals, but it's just people standing there. They're just standing, nothing else. They're just standing there, and I don't know. Just there are parts of it that they aren't just standing, but that's very far in between. Most of the opening theme just consists of people either walking or standing, nothing else. But yeah, it's not a massive complaint since the opening theme overall isn't bad. The song's pretty good. It's just not in terms of visual style. I didn't like it very much, but I just did not like that visual style. But yeah, moving past that though, I don't really have much I could really talk about without really spoiling things, so I think we're just going to hop to the spoiler section now. Here's a timestamp to when the spoiler section ends. If you have seen the show, I recommend sticking around and hearing my thoughts, but if you haven't, just skip to the end so you don't get any spoilers. But again, if you have seen it, I recommend sticking around and hearing my thoughts. That way you can talk in the comments about whether you agree or disagree with my opinions. But yeah, I'm going to count up to 5 and I'm going to enter the spoiler section. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so in terms of spoilers, I mentioned early on that there was something that actually got a shock factor out of me, where I was just like, they did not just do that! And that is a scene early on where Ginro, who was a character I've kind of grown to kind of appreciate, though near the end of the season he becomes awful again, but for most of the season, I was surprised that he actually started to pull through a lot more during season 3, and in this, like in particular case, I was surprised with how they went about his character, since the way his character goes, I think it's in episode 2, he ends up finding out the truth about the island, which is that its leader has already been turned to stone for a while. It's actually Ibarra doing all of this stuff. And after that, what I think is going to be Ginro just kind of running away, being a terrified little guy, just being like, I gotta get away now! I am then surprised to find that while he does in fact do that, it ends not with him actually getting away, but him literally getting stabbed. Like, we see it in everything. We see the full stabbing, then we see him falling down, Kohaku going and trying to save him by having the villains use the petrification beam to turn them both to stone. It's just so good, and I loved how it really made me think, whoa, they actually did this. Because Dr. Stone, as many people are probably aware, It's not really a show that focuses too much on violence. It's definitely more of a science show, and the farthest we really got with in terms of violence was mostly just season 2, which isn't really even that violent overall. So when the show really goes into violence, it always catches you off guard. And in this case, it absolutely did. Like, I was not expecting him to get stabbed through the back. It was so surprising and shocking for a show like this that when it happened, I was just thinking, wait, did they actually just do that? And then, the whole petrification thing happens, which is a bit shocking. And by a bit, I mean not surprising. It was a bit shocking in the sense that, oh yeah, they actually thought about that, since I thought about that the minute he got stabbed. I was like, petrification, come on, get him petrified. But yeah, it was very much a shock value thing, but it still worked, and it definitely shocked me. And that just made me get really excited for what we're going to see in the future, since the rest of the season is really interesting. From all the villains they end up both teaming up with and going against, to all the different plot lines, as well as just combining everything into this interesting whole of a story that could have easily fallen apart with whatever they were trying to throw out there, but it actually blends together so freaking well. And I also really love how the Medusa, as they call it in this, is handled, as we end up getting to learn that apparently it runs on voice activation. You have to be around a specific area of the device, and it also runs on batteries, which is why after they revive Tsukasa, who we'll talk about later, after they do that, it's now out of batteries. You can't do much more with it, which is a bit sad, but it is what it is. Still, the way they end up defeating Ibarra is pretty awesome, and everything else about this season is just so good, especially with how Ibarra ends up trying to turn the whole island into stone, which I was not expecting that, especially with how he actually kind of succeeded, except with Senku, who, with the help of his friends, was able to survive the petrification by throwing up the revival fluid right at the highest amount that he needs, and then he gets revived pretty much immediately because he didn't even actually get turned to stone like all the others did. And it is so flipping good. It is just so awesome with how they go about all of that, and it blew my mind with how good it was, especially with how it ends with Senku tricking Ibarra with the help of Ryusui, getting the earpiece that they created near the start of the season, and just using that to use the machine to turn Ibarra to stone and stuff like that. There's so many awesome twisted turns in this season, and it is so good. I loved it. It was so awesome, and I was just really enjoying myself. But then we get to after the fact. Now, if it was like 1 or 2 episodes of them kind of preparing for their next mission, it'd be fine. But it's like 3 episodes. And while I get the whole point is to try to build up what's happening next, since they now have to go around the world reviving a lot of people so they can build a rocket to go to the moon to take out whoever was trying to turn the whole world to stone again. However, I felt like that whole segment could have been shorter. I definitely feel like it could have been much more cut down, because for me personally, I felt like it just dragged on and on at times. Like, if it was just the episode where they revealed they're going to the moon and then cut back to them going back, it would have been fine. But there's a bunch of other preparations they need to do and a bunch of other stuff, which makes sense. They're establishing things. It just felt a bit long. Even so, I still enjoyed it a lot. And then they end up getting back and they revive Tsukasa, which, if I'm being honest, happened way faster than I thought it was going to. I thought they were going to slowly build up to them finding the Medusa and reviving Tsukasa. I thought it was just going to be this big build-up thing that would eventually get to them reviving Tsukasa. But in this case, they ended up reviving him right away at the end of the season, less than a season later. Well, not less than a season. It's at the end of the 3rd season when he got stuck on ice at the end of the 2nd. It was still very surprising with how fast it happened to me. To be clear, this isn't a complaint. I'm not trying to complain. What I'm saying is it just happened earlier than I anticipated. I'm still cool with it, especially since now Tsukasa is now part of the crew and he's traveling with everyone around the world to prepare to build a whole spaceship just to fly up to the moon and go take down their enemy. It's so awesome. I really enjoyed it, and overall, I just had such an amazing time with this season. While there are definitely some ups and downs at times, overall, I really freaking enjoyed it. I loved all the different aspects to it, like how they used a drone to try to snatch the Medusa, even though it kind of flopped on them in the end. But they still pulled it off, but it didn't work out as anticipated, but it was still pretty awesome. I love all the different twists and turns and how they sometimes will end up working with older villains or trying to keep up with newer villains only for it to kind of flop on them. There's awesome stuff like that. And overall, I think this has got to be some of my favorite Dr. Stone content so far. And it makes me excited to think that we got one more season to cover of this show. It's probably going to be a long season. I'm just saying this right now. It's probably going to be a long season, and I'm all for it because so far, Dr. Stone has just really risen up there thanks to this half of Dr. Stone season 3, because it just gets so many things right. Like, it gets the hateable villain in Ibarra correct. Like, I hated that man. I just despise him. And they do such a good job with wrapping up his villain story, getting petrified, which is ironic because it basically means that he got trapped by the very thing that he used to take control of everything in the first place, which that probably wasn't intentional, but I think it was really good. I don't think it was like meant to be some big reflection on his actions, but it's still a nice way to think about it. But yeah, I really enjoy all the different elements to this. All the characters are great. The story is awesome. I really enjoyed it. And just overall, Dr. Stone New World Part 2 has got to be some of my favorite content from Dr. Stone because I have almost nothing to complain about with it. It's just such a good season. It blew by in the blink of an eye. I just loved it so much. It was so much fun, and it's definitely up there some of my favorite content from the Dr. Stone storyline because it's just so good. All the cool things that Senku and everyone do in order to accomplish their goals in this season is incredible. It's so good. I can't say anything, but I loved it. It was so good. Dr. Stone New World Part 2 is just so incredible, and I really hope that it's going to keep the momentum for the final season. And yeah, that's all I have to say. So we're at the conclusion of this video, and what are my final thoughts? Overall, I feel that Dr. Stone Season 3 Part 2 was awesome. It was incredible. The story was really exhilarating. It was just so much fun, and I just had such an incredible time. The characters, the world, everything about it, they did such a good job, especially with the little reveal at the end of where they're going next. That was awesome. I loved it, and it just gets me so excited for what the final season has in store because I'm sure that it's going to be a great season. And yeah, overall, I give Dr. Stone New World Part 2 a 9 out of 10. It was incredible. I enjoyed so much of it. I had such a great time, and it's just a really awesome show. Like, this whole half the season, as well as just season 3 in general, is so freaking good. And it reminded me why I love Dr. Stone, since as people who might have seen my past reviews are aware, the first season I really enjoyed. Second season, when I rewatched it for the review, was alright. It wasn't as amazing, but season 3 has just been phenomenal. Season 3 has been incredible, entertaining, awesome, full of twisted turns, shocking moments. It's just so flipping good. And I want to see more. I'm really hoping that season 4 will give me more of the awesomeness that is Dr. Stone. And yeah, that's all I really have to say. And thank you all for watching. If you're new to the JGC Anime channel, don't forget to subscribe. I also do anime fans to the channel. And I will see you all around. Peace!